We're packed up and just about ready to leave camp. Half a mile down the trail we have the Paw Paw Tunnel, so we're looking forward to that. Our route today takes us from our campground through the spectacular Paw Paw Tunnel. At one point, we'll divert from the towpath onto the Western Maryland Rail Trail. We stop in Hancock to have something to eat, and we end up at the Little Pool hiker-biker site.
Just left our camp at Paw Paw, and it's a half a mile to the Paw Paw Tunnel. Beautiful new morning. There it is. The Paw Paw Tunnel is supposed to be 3,000 feet, a little over half a mile.
This is the western end of the Paw Paw Tunnel. And here you can see, this is the canal where the boats went through. But the towpath is along the side there. That's where we're gonna go. That railing. And the mules towed the boats through the tunnel. I don't imagine the railing was there, or their ropes would have gotten tangled up in it, so they just had to make sure they didn't step off. Walking into the Paw Paw Tunnel. "3,000 feet of gloomy darkness and engineering marvel." A little drippy. Well, you know, we didn't get a big blast of cold like we did in that other tunnel.
No, it's not as cold as I expected. We put on coats because we're used to tunnels being kind of chilly. It's not feeling that chilly. They suggest walking because it's so narrow. There's a rail to protect you from going over into the canal, but it's short. And they say it can be slippery in here, and so they highly suggest walking. So the boats actually went through the tunnel. Isn't that something?
The Paw Paw Tunnel is 3,118 feet long. It was built to bypass the Paw Paw Bends, a 6-mile stretch of the Potomac River containing 5 horseshoe-shaped bends. The nearby town of Paw Paw, West Virginia, the bends, and the tunnel take their name from the Paw Paw tree. Built using more than 6 million bricks, the tunnel has been described as the greatest engineering marvel along the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park. Construction on the tunnel began in 1836 and was expected to be completed within 2 years at a total cost of $33,500. But the project proved far more complicated than expected, and the tunnel did not open until 1850, more than a decade behind schedule. The tunnel and towpath are now maintained for public use as part of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park. The American pawpaw is a species of small deciduous tree that produces a large yellowish-green to brown fruit. The ripe fruits are edible. They are sweet with a custard-like texture and a flavor somewhat similar to banana or pineapple. They are commonly eaten raw, but are also used to make ice cream and baked desserts.
This is like single track through here. Very different than what we've been on. They say this trail is rougher. Maybe this is where it gets a little rougher.
We were told that after the Paw Paw Tunnel, the trail was rougher, and we're seeing that. The riding surface is still not bad, but things are not mowed down like they were on the other side of the tunnel. We passed a campsite back there. Morning. We passed a campsite back there, and the grass was pretty tall. I'm not sure I would have wanted to camp there. We'll see what the campsite is like that we're planning on stopping at tonight. Might be in similar condition, who knows.
Oh, there it comes. This is a hiker-biker spot. There's a really nice spot out right on the river. And they provide water, although it's not potable, we'd have to filter it. They've got a little outhouse over there. But this is not our spot. We have about another 7 miles, I think, to our spot.
I believe this is called the Western Maryland Rail Trail, and it parallels the C&O Canal towpath for, I don't know, 20 miles or so. We weren't going to take it, but they're doing a bunch of very dusty construction down on the towpath, so they directed us up here as a detour, and this may just tempt us to stay up here on this nice paved path rather than go back down onto the rougher towpath.
That down there was feeling rough, dirty, and hot.
Yeah, it's definitely slower than
Yeah, this is cooling me off.
the detour is taking us back down to the C&O Canal. The paved path was very nice, but our campsites are on the canal side, on the canal towpath side, and even though they parallel each other, we would have to go down and cross the canal in order to just bushwhack down to our campsites, and who knows what that would be like. It could be flooded, it could be very deep, or it could be nothing. But we're just taking the detour now. Getting back onto the towpath. It actually looks in pretty good shape right here, so why not? Found a little buddy on the path here. Just cruising down the path, wondering why we're interrupting him. You have lily pads and a great blue heron, great blue heron. These are the remains of the once prosperous round-top cement mill. The abundance of high calcium limestone drew cement manufacturers to this area in 1838. Limestone can be cut into building blocks or burned and ground for use in fertilizer or natural cement. The 8 kilns here could produce 48 tons of burnt lime per day. The Round Top Cement Company provided cement for the construction of the Washington Monument, the U.S. Capitol building, and much of the masonry along the western end of the canal. Fires in 1848, 1897, and 1903 burned the mill to the ground. The mill closed in 1903.
You're at Lock 75, and there's actually still some water in this one. Yeah. So they'd have to close that gate down there and then fill it up with water because it's higher over there. If you're going towards me anyway, if you're going back to Washington D.C., then they'd come in, lower it again so that they could go out that way. Or if they were coming that way, they'd come on in, close those gates, raise the water to that level, open the gates, and they'd head that way. And the mules would be pulling them along here. Here's an actual old blockhouse. Look at that. Isn't that cool? That rough-hewn logs. Look at that door. So we saw a video of how oftentimes the young boy of the family that owned the boat would get out and have to push these things to close them and open them. It looked like hard work.
We're coming into Hancock. We actually weren't planning on stopping at Hancock, at least we weren't going to get this far. We were going to camp at the White Rock hiker-biker campground a few miles back, but we got there and there was a big group of canoers, an outward bound group from Baltimore, and they pretty much had the campground taken up. They would have made room for us, but we decided to move on down a little bit further, stop here at Hancock to get something cold to drink, and then move on down to another campsite, little pool, a couple miles further down the trail. We just left Hancock, Maryland, heading for the Little Pool hiker-biker campsite. Tunnel Away Aqueduct.
Block 52. That's a pretty house.
At least 4 turtles sitting in that house.
With all their heads pointed towards the train. There's a train going by and they all look like they're pointing their heads towards the train. The sound of the train. What is that over there?
We just rolled into our campsite for the night. This wasn't where we were planning on camping, but where we were planning on camping, as I said before, had a big crowd. So we stopped in Hancock and got some dinner, and now we're here at Little Pool hiker-biker site. Nobody else here, so I guess we get to claim this picnic table. And the grass has been mowed. Some of these hiker-biker sites look a little uncared for. And we don't really like the idea of camping in tall grass, but this grass has been mowed down okay. So it's a very pretty site. I'm glad for it. Got a view of the Potomac over here.